Welcome back, everybody, to Mystics at the Grocery Store. We are back with another episode today. It's going to be a fun topic, one that if you tuned in to our last episode, you'll kind of remember what we brought up. And I almost forgot, honestly. We're going to do a little bit of check-ins here at the beginning. So, hi, I'm Rosalyn. If this is your first time joining us. Adrienne, how are you this morning?
I'm doing well. I'm Adrienne, obviously. Yeah, I'm doing well. Yeah, we totally forgot about the check-in. Yeah, it's just been a very connective and powerful time for me. So I'm just really enjoying this season.
Yeah,
Melinda, how
I
are you?
I'm really well. Hello, everyone. I'm enjoying. We're right now in the middle of a training of a culmination of a year-long um, course we've been in with the energetic alchemist, and we've I've just been really enjoying the deep dives and our 8 hour a day teachings and learnings and sharings, and so I'm excited to join you guys in this format today and then meet you later in class that we're all doing. So it's awesome.
Yes, we
Yeah.
have been in the depths of learning and yeah, what a, I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it. It's just that there's a lot of depth, a lot of depth and a lot of deeper understanding. And yeah, it's been fun, but we're just getting so much of each other these days.
Can't get enough.
Um, it's wonderful. Okay, so the topic today, like I mentioned, we touched on it last episode, and it is about Adrienne's story of her speaking stick and how that relates to voice. So, to begin, I'm going to pass it over to Adrienne to kind of fill us in on the experience around this speaking stick and what kind of brought it into her awareness.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And the crowd went wild.
Yeah.
So, um, okay, so I'm going to try to keep the story like condensed as far as, the beginnings of everything. But it occurred in Scotland, and we were doing a ritual to honor Venus within ourselves. And one of the rituals was to honor our voice and words unspoken, whether it was something that you didn't feel confident enough to say, whether or not you felt like you were going to be ridiculed for saying it. Um, and it was just a complete release of that old way of thinking of things, and then this new voice that's going to be generated. And there's candles, there's rose petals, so of course you've got that frequency of fire involved, and then you've got the rose petals with their high frequency as well. And then there was a beat of a drum too. So as the drum is going as well, and she's cueing us, and part of the cue got to the point where it was scream. I want you to actually kick your feet like you're going into a little tantrum and just scream. And it was to release hurt, it was to release trauma, and also to find your voice. And one of the things I have not been somebody that has that high pitched scream. Like if you scare me, I go, I don't go, like you see in the movies. It just doesn't happen. It doesn't come out of my mouth that way. And I was like, "Oh, okay, well, I'm not going to be able to do that." I didn't say nothing. It was just like, okay, I'm just going to go with the flow. I'm just going to see what happens. And sure enough, with the drum beating and everybody else and that community there, I didn't have that high pitched scream, but I definitely was screaming and holding the scream. And I noticed later that my temper tantrum had straight legs, like I was swimming flutter, instead of everybody else had their legs bent, like the little, I was like, why do I have my flutter legs? And my legs are killing me because we were in a tantrum for a good, I don't know, it felt like 5 minutes, and it was just continual screaming and releasing and letting go. It was so powerful and so amazing. And I'm like talking about it, like getting all excited. But I absolutely loved it. And I said to myself, how can I do this at home? I'd have to get in the inner closet. maybe maybe have the dog with me, maybe not, but the inner closet, and like really like be in a place where I could be vulnerable enough to just scream that loud. Um, so it was that type of scream that you muffle with a pillow. You know,
Yeah.
there was nothing holding you back. You were free to do. You were just free to go and just be and do whatever it was. So the temper tantrum, I really, really love that whole part of it. So on one of my last days, I decided to walk the grounds. And for me, finding voices has been an issue. Whether it's speaking loud enough so people hear me, whether it's speaking over me because I'm not speaking loud enough for other people to hear me and people not realizing that I'm speaking, um, or just, or even I grew up in a time where you're being seen and not heard, like you didn't speak. And then also during that time, they had this thing called ranking, where if you did something wrong, they would rank on you. So you're singing along with the song and you say the wrong word. And they're like, ah, that whole little thing, like traumatized, the little things that traumatize me. So, how has that been what lowered my voice? What stifled my voice? What kept it so low? And how come I can't speak and project my voice from the diaphragm? So, all these things were just coming through. And then on the walk as well, what was coming through is not stepping into your light. Like for me, this is a Leo year. This is a very powerful year for me. And it's about for me, it's about stepping into my light, letting people know what I do, showing my shine, not being afraid to show my shine, not necessarily having to hide behind a rock or under a rock. Scorpion, deep dive. I can go all deep, but there's other things as well, shining that light on. So I'm finishing my walk and I kind of look down and I'm like, look at this little stick. It's kind of interesting. And I'm like, you need the speaking stick. You need this the stick of the voice of this magical land. This land. Oh my God. I- Amazingly, amazingly magical. So I picked up a stick and this is my speaking stick. And I said to the stick, I give myself permission to voice who I am. I give myself permission to show my uniqueness, to shine, and to have that loud, powerful voice without worrying that it's going to be too rough for somebody. I'm going to trust in myself that my messages will be delivered in the highest and best good. So that's what started the speaking stick and the importance of voice. Um, and I'm interested to know what's coming through for you guys about that.
Everything. First of all, I got chills, and I'm so excited about how that stick came to you because we didn't know about this story, just for all the listeners. Like, we didn't know the details. We knew talking stick, Adrienne, Scotland. It's powerful voice, right? I had no idea that how it transpired. Honestly, in my mind, I thought it was like some ritual that the facilitator had initiated. But no, this was your initiation with the land for yourself. And that's even more meaningful and powerful at what, this came to you and in your walk and your communication with Mother Earth and with and that stick just is so, it feels powerful. And those words you just spoke, giving yourself that permission. And as you were talking, aside from chills and stuff, I was thinking about the, well, I remember when I was a kid and I had a moment of screaming into a pillow, but it was good. It was not, I was really, really pissed at something my mother was doing in the middle of the night. I'll just leave it there. It was really loud. And I was just like, you know, I'm not going to say the full story, but I was really like, I was like, I have to get up early tomorrow and I'm being woken up and I was just like, I just took my rage into the screaming into the pillow, which was really cathartic, you know? So it really is not, that's not a bad tool, actually. And it helped move energy. And then I also was just feeling into like your, the screaming and that expression, that utterance, you know, the utterances that move energy that are so like we always are carefully forming voice around words, you know, around like we don't in most of the time in our culture let us, you know, except for laughter, which kind of comes out, you know, like or sobs maybe, you know, things the body says to, that just come over us and we're like sounding, right? Like without making the words, but how important it is to use the that scream as a maybe a regular practice even. I do that with the qigong when I'm doing my shaking, which is one of the qigong practices. It's like an earthquake shimmy. It's and getting energy off the hands and energy all off the body, excess energy, releasing. And then if I am in a place where I can make noise and not have it disrupt the whole neighborhood, because I'm not necessarily wanting to do that. I do hear my neighbors, they, you know, and I want to anyway, but sometimes I'm in places where I can really release. And I will go like I'll start like embodying different emotions and, you know, yelling or screaming or, you know, in a very it's a therapy. So yeah, so much came through and thanks for sharing that story. I'm glad you have your stick and yeah, I have a lot more, but I'm going to stop there because that was just I could watch a whole like hour of you talking about that. So maybe one day you'll just do a YouTube.
Storytelling.
Yeah.
Story time with Adrienne. Yeah, that's so neat. I was thinking, when you were sharing about kids when they have tantrums and how oftentimes we see them having a tantrum and we think it's because they don't know how to process their emotions, which it might be in part that way. But I think also it's just an expression of emotions because, I mean, if they were to bottle up all those feelings and things that they were trying to express, we would just have a even larger tantrum later on. And I think
Hmm.
as we uh, get older and I guess are kind of conditioned by society, we don't exactly have those outlets of expression. Um, at least I didn't. Um, and I was kind of a quiet kid and teenager, so it took me a while to kind of find ways to express whatever I needed to express. Um, so yeah, I find that really interesting. And like Melinda was saying, like what maybe a pillow is a tool to, um, yeah, just let it out. Sometimes you just need to let it out. But yeah, I love that. And I love that the speaking stick just became this, like you said, like it was just, it kind of appeared to you as this symbol of the experience and your connection to where you were. And it's so, so neat. And yeah, when I'm thinking of like tarot, I kind of think of like a magic wand, like the speaking stick kind of became your magic wand in a way of kind of fire energy, but also air and voice and all the things up all in one. So neat. So neat.
Thank you. Yeah, it will be with me until I go back, and then maybe I'll pick up another one. Who knows?
You're like, it's already on the calendar.
That makes me just think about um, like the other day, Adrienne sent us uh yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
I think, the right, the haka, like
Mm-hmm.
the ritual dance and expression of, is it Maori,
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
right? And what what if we had that, you know, that's speaking connected to stomping, connected to earth
Mm-hmm.
power and voice. And it just reminded me of that because it was so powerful to watch this
Yeah.
dance ritual and this expression, and you know, the faces and just
Hmm.
are fierce, and the feet are just reminded me of, you know, so it's like a combination of like the tantrum with the screaming with, but it's grounded and it's
Mm-hmm.
sanctioned by the culture that they're in, and it's something that I think we could benefit from, like developing in our families. It would be interesting, you know, because like that when Rosalind, you were talking about like kids and tantrums, there's an ungroundedness on some way, you know, to okay, just like just let the tantrum out or squelch the tantrum, and without it connecting down to earth, or without us honoring as a family or as parents or as, you know, in our culture, that that is really important, the tantrum energy. But it's not just, I don't know, it's not just from the head, and it's gonna benefit from being grounded,
Yeah. And like embodied.
Hmm.
It's a
embodied.
full
That's it.
embodiment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then, yeah. Well, we could go on about, this is fascinating.
Well, it does. And I'm actually wearing the throat chakra color, the blue, right now. And, the importance of finding your voice and whatever it is, and to be in alignment with your voice. Like you could have a voice, but it's not yours. It's not your voice. It's what you think other people should be thinking that you're saying and feeling. But what is your choice? What is your truth about it? What is your uniqueness about it? And I did write down some things about that throat chakra and that opening. And I had some experiences this week where it was like, oh, I'm just going to let it go. And I'm like, no, find your voice. So I ordered myself some flowers for my birthday, and they were supposed to be stargazer bouquets. That's my favorite flower. Um, and as they start to open, there's not one stargazer there. I'm like, what? So I get on the AI and I start listening. But anyway, so I ended up getting a second bouquet, and there's one stargazer there. So I'm just like, okay, it's a stargazer bouquet, which means there's obviously be more than one stargazer. But again, I'm going too far here. But anyway, it's about finding your voice. It really is. Like that throat chakra, and there's even like things that you can do to help you find your voice, physically opening up your voice box and lifting it, and chanting and doing Reiki, and doing yoga and singing even, so you can wear the color blue, you can sing, you can hear your voice. I went through a very long stage where it's like, oh, I cannot stand to hear my voice. My voice just did not sound well to me. So, and affirmations is another way for you to like really get that throat chakra to open up and to come into connection with your throat, with your voice, what you're saying. Um, we do have this fear that's around us having a tantrum or screaming. Um, like it's not socially acceptable as an adult, like, well, why not? Because some things need to be tantrumed out. You know what I'm saying? They need to be released through tantrum. That's just the way that it is. So to see that haka dance, and it's not that they're like, it's also like an invitation. Like they do it at the beginning of the soccer game, and it's inviting the other team into their area. So just voice and word is just, in my opinion, super super important.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I had the ultimate pleasure and a blessing to see the haka in person in New Zealand when I visited there a few years ago. And coming from a culture that, like you said, kind of suppresses like outward expression like that, it was intimidating when they started
Mm.
because it's so powerful. And there's different types of hakas for different reasons. And the ones that they were performing that night was kind of like they explained, like when tribes were coming into contact with each other, it was like this: you bring me an offering, and I will decide if I kind of trust you and if I'm going to allow you in. But like it was kind of dominance, but it was also just kind of like, protection as well. And so, yeah, it was just because of like how powerful and how authentic they were in expressing their voice in that situation, and all the meanings behind it. It felt so authentic. And like when they first started, it was like that intimidation factor of like, whoa, this is serious. Like this isn't just a performance of someone singing a song or doing a dance. Like this is who they are. This is very serious. And then you just kind of get sucked into it. And I feel like we kind of see that in certain people that are so in tune with their voice. You could just kind of get like drawn into what they're saying and how they are and who they are. And you can kind of understand so much more when people are authentic and genuine with their voice and in their power with it. I'm also just thinking about like different cultures. Like I think in the US, we do kind of stifle that, but I'm thinking of like Italians who are very open with their emotions. And they're like, you walk by people in the street and they're like, "Ah," they're just like yelling at each other, but they're just having a normal conversation. But, they're just passionate, and their culture is like, yeah, you can be open and more passionate about how you express. Yeah, it would be interesting to see our culture here in the US become a little bit more open to that, if it would be productive and genuine and authentic, and,
Yeah.
and how we would all communicate differently. But yeah, it's fascinating. Very fascinating. Well, I know we also have a weather forecast that relates to a lot of these topics. So, Adrienne, if you would love to lead us into that, and we will keep the theme alive.
Okay. So, I just the topic for November and season is really about pruning and empowerment, and burning away falsehoods and reclaiming your true essence. So, if we're talking about true essence of your voice, um, and I can't help but to say that 1111 is when this is going to drop. And this is a portal, like it's a portal to go through. It's an ending because you've got the 2025, which reduces down to the number 9. So it's the end of a cycle. But you've got the 11 and 11, which is 2 portals. So you can think of them on the side of you as a portal. You can think of them this way as you're walking through. I guess you wouldn't walk through this way. You'd walk through the portal this way. Okay. And for me, I was also getting a sense of, one of the portals is water and one of those portals is fire at this point in time. And I'm hoping that we kind of circle back around to why that sounds so important for it to be fire and water. Um, and on the 11th, the moon is actually in Leo and it's in its 4th quarter. So it's the end of. So here, celebrate yourself, celebrate your advances, celebrate your accomplishments with your voice. Okay. And the reason that I say that is because we have some time, like the 12th through the 18th, where little things are happening, but nothing like really dramatic. And one of my mentors said, this is the time to clean things up. Okay. The moon's going to be in Virgo. Pick out what you need, leave it alone, let that go. It's going to be in Libra. So again, it's about fairness. What's fair to you? What's fair that you're expressing out? What's fair that you're keeping in? And then Scorpio, where you're going to go deep. So on the 18th, it goes right back into Scorpio. You're going deep. And with that being said, that um, right before that, Jupiter is actually going into retrograde in Cancer. So she starts talking to Jupiter, and they're having this conversation about our daily routines. Like, it's in the sixth house that goes retrograde. Um, and the conversation about your daily routine, are they for self improvement? I know that I am supposed to serve. That's what this house is about. But how am I serving myself? Um, and with it, having that conversation with Scorpio, of course, we're starting to go down deep inward, having this conversation, have these deep, rooted conversations. Because, you know, this is all occurring in the sixth house, which is below the horizon. So now Jupiter, it should expand, expand, expand. And I was like, expand below, like really get those roots down deep and nice. Take this time to really grow them down deep and to make them stronger, because it's going to be stronger for the tree up top. Stronger roots, strong tree. And the self caregiving is what's going on with those roots, that expansion of roots, the taking care of the roots. And my mentor also said something, that she had a couple of profound things that she mentioned. She said that the deep, true message of Cancer and Jupiter is that emotional security is the real wealth. I was like, oh my God, you ask for abundance, you ask for wealth, but emotional security is the foundation. It is true wealth. So that is what came through on that day. Does that resonate with you guys with anything?
Beyond all
Go
the
ahead, Melinda.
things. Okay. Well, yeah, that gets to the heart of what we value truly, that emotional security being the true wealth. Like, it makes me think of the a new tarot deck I just bought that is the Life Code Tarot that I heard on Reiki Radio podcast, the lady who developed that being interviewed. And I loved her take on what is it? Why are we doing these practices? And what is truly at the heart of that wisdom system? And she really highlighted like the 10 of Cups, that in the classic Rider Smith Waite depiction, you have this like man and woman looking up at the rainbow of cups and like two little kids dancing next to them, right? Like just that energy of, there's four people, stability in the card, numerological 4. There is this stargazing, if you will. I was really struck by Adrienne's stargazer flower name. They're facing away from, they're not putting on display, they're facing what really matters to them, which is feeling into the gratitude of their emotional security. And I'm going to frame it that way for right now, but like just how wonderful they all feel together, being together on this earth, such that their children feel free enough and secure enough to dance together, that they feel good enough to just be together without speaking, looking up at the rainbow. Yeah, that just dropped in as you said that, and that's kind of like the heart of what it is that our souls want. Maybe we get sometimes obscured by ego or cultural expectation of what the highest good should be, valuing money, or like all this other trappings of wealth, or like you're supposed to get stuff. But no, we're if the true wealth is like loving who you're with, feeling safe with them.
You're muted.
AI said
What is
enough.
with
AI
this?
said enough. She's done. Let's move
I
on.
I think I thanks Spirit. I was just like saying the most beautiful, authentic expression. I don't even know what happened. I didn't even touch it. What is
I
going
know, it
on
just went,
with
I was like,
technology?
oh.
It's
Too
like,
much
okay, honey,
energy.
you're done. But yeah, it was just, I don't know where it ended, but it was just like, it's true wealth is loving who you're with and having those around you feel secure enough in your presence to dance and express their joy.
I think too,
10 of Cups.
yeah. I think too, when you see people that are acting out of lower vibration or in negative emotion, like it's because a lot of the times it's because they don't have emotional security. So it's like most imbalance comes from emotional insecurity, because our emotions and our mental state are so closely locked together. Yeah, it just feeds into that. So, of course, emotional security would be kind of like the highest state that we could be in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, buckle in, girls, because on the 18th, Mercury jumps into this and it's like, all right, we're going deep. All right. And it's in retrograde. So it's going backwards. It's taking its time in Scorpio. Like, oh, going backwards. I'm feeling it. But the deep conversation, it's like, okay, hearing that deep conversation. And so it's coming out of Sagittarius because it's going retrograde at this point. It was in Sagittarius about teaching and travel and truths and your beliefs around it. So then now it's backing up into, it's doing the moonwalk into Scorpio. So he's back into Scorpio at 29 degrees. Now, there's just so much here because that's the mature degrees. That's the anaretic degree, 29th degree. But there's also so many other planets that are also at 29 degrees at the same time, but we'll jump into that in a minute. So Mercury's doing the moon walk backwards in the Scorpio season. They're talking about inner deep communications and conversations around old wounds, around intimate topics, maybe topics that are a little bit you're hesitant to speak about just yet, but there's a revision, there's a revisement, there's you're revisiting these types of things around trusting these intimate topics, trusting these old wounds that they actually occurred so that you can be a better person for where you are right now. And all of this occurring in the fourth house, which is about home, family roots, at the IC, which, if you think about the IC, is that person holding the balloon at the bottom, while all those other balloons are just like flowing up at the top. It's at the root. So here we are talking about roots again, right? At the IC. And the IC, strangely enough, not strangely enough, but interestingly enough, feeds your MC, which is the way that you present yourself to the outside world. Um, so, and Uranus is in opposition with Mercury right now. And it's in Taurus, and thank goodness, but it's in retrograde in Taurus. So for me, I always see whenever a strong planet or a strong professor, all the professors are strong, but when you have Uranus there, I don't think Uranus is really, really comfortable in Taurus. Taurus is about stability, not changing things. Things are firm. And Uranus is about sudden changes and shaking stuff up. So for the both of them to be holding that other edge of, or the other end of our rope as we go down with Mercury in Scorpio, the sun's going to be in Scorpio, and just like all these deep conversations, Uranus is holding them. Maybe it's saying, see them in a new and or a more powerful light, even though it's shaking you up a little bit, it's a little bit uncomfortable, but you've got Taurus right there. That's grounding you, that's helping you stay grounded with the sudden change that's occurring. So I really, really love this energy, as they're like they're at the two ends of the, what do you call that game when you're tug of war? They're at the two ends. Okay. So um to me, it just feels like, yeah, it's shaking you up. It's a little bit of a shake-up. It's a little bit of a surprise, but you've got that Taurian energy right there that's solid and it's grounding you, to help you with whatever's coming in to shake you up a little bit, these deep conversations that you're having during the Scorpio season.
You have your talking stick.
I have my talking stick. Exactly.
Earthly connection.
And then the full moon on the 20th in Scorpio. So everybody's at the party. You've got Mercury at the party. You've got everybody's at the party. You've got Mercury, you've got the sun, you've got the moon now, and even the discussions that are being had with the other planets, whether they be a tutor or whether they just be one of your professor planets, they're all saying it's okay. You got to let go of what you're afraid of in order to know where you're going. And you can also, it's shedding the old to let in the new. You know, that whole process, like you can be very, very comfortable where you are. You know, you think about that Taurine energy, very comfortable. I'm not moving. Uranus and Pluto. Pluto's also saying, come on, let's take a move. Let's go out and let's do something a little bit different. Remember, Pluto is still out of bounds until like, I don't 10 years. So yes, it's about transformation, but it's about transformation in a unique and crazy way because it's out of bounds. The sun is like, come back here. I'm trying to rein you in. And Pluto's like, no, I've got this. I'm going to party my way. You may see me as somebody that's very serious and transformational, truth, death, da da da. But you know what? You can do truth, death in a happy way too. So, you know, that's all of and it's wonderful energy because all this is going on the 20th, which turns out to be the same number as 1111, which is the portal, because you've got two, the 11th, and then you got the 20, which also reduces down to two, which is 11 when you talk about 1111. And then you've got the nine, and it happens again when we get to, um, so for it to happen again at this stage, so many days later, it's just for me like everything is saying, you know, revisit your conversations. Do they eliminate who you truly are? Do they show you um you know, do they show you in your wisdom? Because these are all at the analytic degree. Like this is right before you graduate onto the next thing. um have those deep conversations, do that deep research, have those deep feelings, journal about them, strategize about them, you know, come into a connection and a communication with them, and be okay with them. And to you guys.
Yeah, I just think about all the diving deep and how we really aren't able to fully embody our authentic voice until we do that. And we aren't able to confidently grasp our speaking stick until we know the depths of who we are and, you know, how we represent ourselves and how we want to express. And yeah, all the deep diving is like totally necessary to find that voice of who we are. And yeah, just knowing that we're letting go of the things that are no longer, they maybe at some time did represent, but we're allowed to shift and adapt and change and grow. And so whatever needs to be released in all the retrograding as well, can be released without guilt. And then, you know, every step you take forward to deeper understanding of yourself is just gonna empower you and give you more of that authentic expression and voice. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And I think I'm circling back to what Adrienne already hinted at, but water and fire being so wise in pointing the way to how to do that. Like the deep dive is the fixed water element of Scorpio, and going to the root of what has kept you from feeling emotionally stable within yourself, and what's kept you from your joy, your true joy, which I want to go back to the 10 of Cups. You know, even though there's four figures and it looks like some happy family, it's really all you inside you. It's not an
Mm-hmm.
external thing that we all need to have that picture of that perfect family. It's within us that we need to feel that emotional security, that sense that we can appreciate the cosmic and dance and So the deep dive into like what's keeping us from that. And then the fire of purification and burning the stuff that we've attached to along the way, that maybe unconscious patterns, limiting beliefs, ways that our ego wants us to defend itself and present itself, but that really aren't really necessary as we, go through the portal into the next, the year one that we're going into next year. Yeah.
I like the way that
Back
you
to you.
talked about that fire and water. And, it just came to me like, okay, so bear with me here, audience.
Always.
I've got a point here. I
Always.
really, really do. So when you have water and you add the fire to it, if you're cooking, that fire completes whatever the final is supposed to be, whether it's oatmeal or rice or whatever it is, okay? But then when you think about Mercury and how it was just in Sagittarius, which is a fire sign, a mutable fire sign, and now it's coming back and being placed into water, creating a hardened final kind of voice. So if you can think of like a sword, you make the sword and you're smacking it around, you're heating it so you can malutate it or whatever I don't even know what it's called when you make a sword, but whatever that is. I think there's a show about swords or something. But anyway, sorry. And you use the fire, you smack it around, you put it in water to get the final firmness. Is that an appropriate word to say? But I mean, help me out, guys. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yes,
you
no,
take it and
all
you
of
put
your
it in the
words. I
coldness.
love them. All the
And
But
words.
it's
now
a
it's
back and
firm.
forth
Yes,
too.
it's back and
Hmm.
forth. And
Yeah.
at this point, the water is what completes it. What starts in
Hmm.
the fire ends in the water. What starts in the water ends in the
Beautiful.
fire. That just came to me. That's so profound.
It is so profound. It's just like it's the blessing. It's the final curing. It's a healing. It's a blessing. It's a setting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the fire's allowed to come in and let things be malleable, and then the water cools it and gives it its strength in a way and
Mm.
its stability. But then at that point, they look at it again and see where it needs to be further,
Retrograde. See,
yeah,
I
further
love
adjusted,
retrograde. Yeah.
goes back in the fire, and then they come out and they whack it around again some more, getting all those edges sharp, making it perfect. Refinement, refinement,
And then
refinement.
like and then that's our voice.
Hmm.
Our voice is that sword that we're working with, that we're trying to make the perfect, it's not a blade to cut and to destroy needlessly. It's strong, it's powerful, it's beautiful. It reflects
It's a tool.
it.
You think of it as a
It's a
tool,
tool. It's a
and
tool.
how you
Yeah,
choose to use it.
beautiful. I think we just got the Nobel Peace Prize for that.
Absolutely. Do we each get one or do we have to like share it? Like you have it 3 months and
We pass it
Yeah,
around. We could
before
share
pass it around.
custody of it. I love that. No, that's beautiful. And I think too the fire and water, I love the portal of that because it's like you don't walk through to become some more aligned being without like going into the depths of both, which is your divine feminine, your divine masculine, so your water, your fire, like you have to be almost like 1 foot in each. And then, through the balance and refinement, you can walk through the portal and try to be a better human. It's a task, but we try.
Invite yourself. Invite yourself.
Yes.
Was it
Yes.
to be a better human?
Hmm.
We already are, and it is so.
Yes. Yes.
Burn away that which is not.
And I feel like as a human, if you need to scream a little bit to get to be a better human, you can scream.
Have your tantrum. Go out into the
Yeah.
woods.
I was gonna ask, where were you all?
We were in a room. We were in the room, one of the rooms in the castle. And interestingly enough, it was one
Okay.
of the rooms that was used for yoga every morning. So, there's a beautiful gong in there, and it has, one of those windows, a bay window, huge bay window, floor to ceiling, where you could look out over the grounds.
So I feel like in this episode, there's a lot to think about in terms of empowerment, your voice, refinement and reflection, releasing, and all. I really do love the metaphor of the sword making because there's just so much symbolism in that, but also just very much what we spoke about this entire time. Just the being willing to walk through the water and the fire for your refinement, for your deeper understanding, taking the lessons that you've learned, taking, the lessons from Adrienne's story of just the benefit of expressing truly, fully, scream it out.
Hmm.
Like it's just, if you truly want to embody who you are, that takes transformation. And sometimes transformation really needs to be expressed and in healthy and positive and safe ways, obviously. And I just think this time of year when, the days are darker and the temperatures are hopefully cooler, I feel like that really does encourage that time with yourself and the time to reflect and the time to go inward, and to kind of nest and just look at yourself and how you've been and if you're happy with the version of who you are. And if not, think about how you want to change. And there are a lot of tools and things to, reflect on that can get you to that even more authentic version of who you are when you feel empowered and like you can hold your own speaking stick with confidence and, you know, higher vibrational energy.
Yeah. Build
Any
your,
other little closing thoughts, ladies,
yeah.
before we say goodbye today?
When we first started and Adrienne was talking about her beautiful stick um, in Scotland, the phrase came in adjusting your levels, which of course we were having technical problems too. So
It's
I'm
true.
always
It
thinking,
was
but you
mine.
have this, you have these, and I always love that as an image of, like we're there, we are as humans playing with these different aspects of who we are. And we do need to understand both the extremes of all of these elements that we're dealing with. If we bottle things up or we've been told that we shouldn't express fiery, we haven't allowed ourselves to even experience what that might mean. So the tool of the expression and expressing yourself, and this card came into mind. I'm showing the challenge card from the Energetic Alchemist Oracle deck, and it really, I think, shows what we've been talking about. That it's the if we look at this card as like us, both sides, on the one side there's a man who's in a very difficult yoga posture, which requires a lot of balance and a lot of self-awareness, proprioception, and he's in gasho, he's harmonized his feminine and masculine, he's centered, and he's able in that state of emotional security to look at the aspect of himself or what's around him that is squawking, like really allowing. There's a bird on the other side of this car that's allowing itself to, like, it's squawking, it's screeching, it's expressing, it's very large. But there's the balancing, in the center of it all. But if you don't let yourself, do the expressing in the closet, maybe into a pillow, whatever, or doing qigong, using our tools there are many tools to allow these expressions to safely pass. It's not unsafe, in with the right tools to allow that energy to transform us, to pass through us, to transform us, to transform our understanding of what it all might mean for us. But if we stay without ever kind of adjusting our levels, we will potentially just sort of stay stuck, which is fine. You get to. It all depends on what lights you up.
Final words from me. I'm going to go back to like that the moon and Leo in the fourth quarter. Celebrate yourself, celebrate your advances, your accomplishments, celebrate your voice, celebrate what you stand for. And don't be afraid to do that deep dive into what it is that you truly believe, what it is that you truly speak. Be confident with that, be Mercury doing the moon dance, going back into Scorpio season, looking at that deep dive, having the conversations with all the different planets, and you speak your truth. And, it could be as simple as pulling out a journal and just writing down. If you're not comfortable with voicing it out verbally, write it down. Just write it down so that you know. And even affirmations: I am worthy. My voice does matter. What I think does matter. So things like that I would encourage, or I would, and I would encourage you to reach out. We all have specialties that we like to help people to become empowered, to help work things out with. My Sage Connections, and Rosalyn has, is it Two Wolves?
Two Wolves Wellness.
Yeah. And then Miss Melinda, she's got so many things.
Yeah. Miss Speakeasy Reiki over there. Yeah, I definitely encourage all of what Adrienne just said. And yeah, reach out to us if you would like to have some help with that. We are definitely here to support our little growing community of mystics. And yeah, I get in touch, let us know how you are finding your voice, or if you feel like you've gotten to a point where like you've gone through some cycles of finding your voice. How did you do it? Help everybody out with some of, the tools that you've used, and what benefited you.
Was your tantrum?
Yeah. What was your tantrum? What was your last tantrum about? Let's talk about it. But yeah, I am really excited that we had this topic. I think it's really important now. I don't know, it just seems like a lot of people are trying to find their authentic place and how they take up that space. And we all have the right to do it. And it really does help us all kind of vibrate higher when we can be in our true energy and empowerment, and speak our voice, and raise everybody up too. So thanks again for being with us this week. We'll be back in a couple weeks with another lovely topic, and hope you all are just doing wonderful, enjoying the season. And yeah, we'll see you all very soon.
Well, find your speaking stick.
Find your own stick.
Love you guys.
Bye.